Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Forgotten Favorites, the show we're going to be doing each and every day throughout the month of August, where I'm going to be bringing to you a cool little obscurity, either from a very obscure band, a kind of obscure band, or maybe just a more obscure or very little talked about album from a more known band. Today we're going to go back to Germany to 1976. It's the fifth album from this kind of obscure German band who dabbled in hard rock and space rock and certainly prog and psychedelia. I am talking about Jane. Fire, Water, Earth, and Air is the album. Just 33 minutes long. By today's standards, we'd probably be calling this an EP, but that was kind of the norm back then. So again, this is Jane's fifth album. Regarded by some as one of their better ones. I find a good chunk of their early catalog pretty solid, although each album kind of sounds a little bit different from each other. I mean, if you were to listen to the music of Jane, you're going to hear little bits of, certainly some of their krautrock brethren, especially, a little Birth Control perhaps. A lot of Hammond organ in their music, a lot of really good lead guitar work. You hear a little bit of Eloy. Eloy, very similar career path early on in their career, more of like a Deep Purple style hard rock band, and then started to incorporate more Pink Floyd isms and space rock and Hawkwind and turn into much more of a symphonic prog band with space rock tendencies. Very similar to Jane. Jane's earlier stuff is more hard rockin', guitars and Hammond organ. Whereas here they're starting to incorporate synthesizers and strings and longer instrumental passages and things like that. I get much more of a Pink Floyd vibe on this album. A little bit of maybe Steve Hillage or Gong era Steve Hillage. Also, certainly some Hawkwind, certainly some Eloy. Some of the songs, you almost get, there's a couple tracks on here where you hear a little bit of like Hurdy-Gurdy Man or Celluloid Heroes, by the Kinks. So if you think Steve Hillage's version of Hurdy-Gurdy Man and Celluloid Heroes, there's some passages you'll hear on this album that totally remind of that. So it's very spacey. It's not a heavy album. Some of their earlier albums are definitely more rockin' than this one. But really good, lengthy instrumental passages, decent vocals. So basically this band we're comprised of Klaus Hess on lead vocals and guitars, Werner Nadolny, on organ, piano, strings, synths, Moog, and I believe Mellotron as well on this album. Martin Hesse, bass guitar, backing vocals, and Peter Panka on drums and vocals. So we don't have a lot of tracks on here, so that's basically what you got. It's mainly long suites, right? Let me just open up the CD here so you can take a look at that. All right, so that's the album cover again. Not a lot of artwork going on with this particular one, but there's the guys in the band right there. So the album kicks off with the lengthy, I believe it's like almost 17-minute long, Fire, Water, Earth, and Air, which is also comprised of Fire, You Give Me Some Sweet Lovin', and Water, Keep On Rollin'. So the first part of the three-part suite, which is the Fire, Water, Earth, and Air, the title track, like I said, very spacey, very Pink Floyd and Hawkwind and Eloy, all those types of elements, long guitar solos, lots of dreamy Hammond organ and Moog synthesizer, vocals, that sort of thing. When you get to the Fire part of it, You Give Me Sweet Lovin', it's more of like a hard rock boogie type of thing. All right, and then Water, Keep On Rollin', also kind of the similar thing. That's more vocal oriented, lots of hooks in that part of the song. So pretty cool. That then moves into Earth, which is the kind of like the middle track here, and that's about 5 minutes and change. That's, again, very similar type of proggy krautrock type of thing. And then the last like 11 minutes is the two-part Air suite, which is Superman and then Let the Sun Shine In. Okay, and again, plus the end also tacked on at the end. So again, elements of a lot of the bands I mentioned, good vocal harmonies on the final track suite. Like I said, a lot of good guitar playing, a lot of really tasty keyboards. It's very German sounding. This was released on the Brain record label back in the day. It's very similar to a lot of those German bands that were coming out, but it's very solid. I have always found that Jane to be one of the better bands of this era coming out of Germany. So if you like that kind of stuff, I highly recommend this. They have a bunch of other albums, which are also really strong. Like, for instance, I would say Between Heaven and Hell, which is the album that came after this, is very strong. Lady, Jane 3, all really good albums. Age of Madness is not bad. You know, once you get into the early 80s, their sound starts to get a little bit more poppy. And they were recording up until the mid-80s, broke up for a while, came back in the 90s, and have been releasing albums sporadically ever since then. And actually, they've been fairly regular since about 2005 or so. So we've got a whole bunch of releases, live albums and all sorts of things like that, and some albums that, you know, are, again, this is one of those bands where you have members of the band taking on the name. So you've got Peter Ponka's Jane, you've got Werner Nadolny's Jane, so there's all this kind of stuff going back and forth. Gee, where have we heard that before, right? So just sometimes it's hard for these, like, legacy bands to get along after they break up. They try to reform. There's still the issues there, so one member goes and takes part of the name, one member goes, takes part of the name, and there you have multiple factions. So anyway, but for now, one of my favorite albums from them is 1976's Fire, Water, Earth, and Air. Really good if you like, you know, a lot of the things we talked about, a lot of the bands that I've talked about. So I'm assuming, or a lot of folks, they're going to be hearing this for the first time. Although we have had people ask for Jane on the channel before, which is cool. I may do an album ranking of theirs at some point as well. So because I think I have most of the catalog, if not all of it. So especially the latter period stuff and into the early 80s. So yeah, check it out. This is our Forgotten Favorites today. So if you've never heard this album by Jane, go listen to it here on YouTube, Spotify, wherever it is you listen to your music. Let us know what you think. If you are familiar with this, give us your feedback down in the comments below, what you think about it, or maybe you haven't heard it in a long time. Go back and revisit, come back and report on what you think in 2021, what you think of this particular album from 1976. So stay tuned each and every day throughout the month of August, where I'll be giving you another kind of relative obscurity from my catalog, all right, and from my collection, I should say, and it'll be covering all different genres, all different decades, so whether you're into hard rock or prog, or all different kinds of metal or jazz fusion, I may even throw some pop stuff out there. It depends on what I kind of stumble upon. Every day, I'm just going to wake up in the morning and go looking through and pick something out. So none of this is predetermined at all. I see folks in the comments already yesterday who were like, could you please cover these bands, and listing like 10, 15 bands. It's like, guys, you know, there's only, 30 days this month. So it's like, you know, I appreciate that. And every now and then I may see something that'll sparkle. That might be a good one. But just kind of wait and see what I'm going to do every day. All right. So this is Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Coming up, we've got the Hudson Valley Squares with a very cool show tonight. We are going to all be talking about our favorite title tracks. Right? A lot of really great legendary title tracks, you know, songs that have the same name as the title of the album. So we'll each be talking about some of our favorites tonight. Tomorrow in the Prog Seat, we're going to be talking about albums, final albums from prog bands that are just no more. So the really notable last albums from some progressive rock, progressive metal, and jazz fusion bands. That was their final album ever. Band is done. No further albums will ever come from this particular band, but that last album was a really good one. So we're going to be talking about that. Wednesday, we've got What's Hot with Sea Tranquility Day, so expect some new album reviews coming from me on Wednesday. Thursday night is The Monsters Den. Chris Allo and I will be doing part 2 of some of our favorite exploitation films. And then Friday at the Funhouse, Martin Popoff is back once again. So stay tuned for that and a lot more coming up. So thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Click on that notification bell so you get notified every time we post a video. We also have the link to our Ko-Fi page if you want to make a channel donation, and the link to our merch page, all right, where we have all sorts of cool Sea of Tranquility shirts and coffee mugs and stickers and hats and all that good sort of thing, as well as the link to seaoftranquility.org, our webzine, which has now been on the internet for 20 years here in 2021. So thanks for watching. We'll see you later on. Take care. Bye-bye.